Thank you. Good afternoon. In a minute, I'm going to stand up. Actually turn to one of your colleagues, stare deep into their eyes, and say, I really value... Sorry, that's tomorrow's presentation. We're not going to do this. Some of the guys at the front were up for it. No, we're going to talk about thinking in 3D. I'll explain what that's all about. But before I do that, I'm always very conscious when I start these things off. People asking, who the hell is Andy Hanselman? I will get some bad news out of the way straight away. I'm a management consultant. And normally before I tell them that, I make sure the doors have been locked, the windows are bolted down. People think, here's some smarty pants here to start telling us all the things we're doing wrong. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to share with you some ideas. And some ideas on how we market and maybe how we differentiate ourselves in the marketplace and how we create sort of great and remarkable customer experiences. I help businesses get better at what they do by what we call thinking in 3D, which is about being dramatically and demonstrably different. And people sort of say, well, why is that, Andy? What's all that about? Well, I actually think we are in a dramatically and demonstrably different world. And in fact, this time last year, I was actually just driving in my car. I was driving along, and this friend of mine sat in the passenger seat said to me, he's called Henry, he said, Andy, what's that? And I said, it's my iPod. He said, how come you've got the old-fashioned version? Henry was 6. He's 7 tomorrow. He's been told, I've got to tell you that. He's 7 tomorrow, okay, it's important. And I did a bit of research. I actually discovered the year before Henry was born, Facebook was 2. YouTube was 1. Twitter had just been born. We didn't even have iPhones. Spotify was just an idea, and MySpace was the biggest social media website going. Now, let me just tell you, I'm not going to talk about social media all day. What I'm going to talk about is we're in a dramatically different, fast-moving world. I'd argue the principles of marketing haven't changed. How we do it maybe has. As I say, I work with businesses up and down the country. I'm actually based in Sheffield. And I've been doing this thing for 20-odd years now. Work with a real mix of businesses. Some you'll know, some you won't. And the reason I put that up there, and I want to stress in the beginning, I'm no expert in your business. I don't know your customers, I don't know your team, I don't know your... You know them far better than I ever would. What I'm going to do is share with you some ideas that I've seen work well in other organisations. Some will be so far away from your business as you can get. That's the point. He's trying to sort of maybe get ideas from other people. And how I work, hopefully these slides just give you a bit of an insight into my approach and how I do it. It's usually not quite as subtle as that. And the reason I put that was very, very easy for me to walk into your business, point out all the things you're doing wrong. Equally, any of you could do it to me. So what we're going to do is take you through a very simple 3-step process called awareness, assessment, action. And awareness is about painting pictures, telling stories. So how do the best businesses stand out from the crowd, how they differentiate themselves? And we'll get some ideas and some examples from me, maybe some from you. Assessment, let me just stress, there's no tests or exams. Assessments, you take a bit of time out and say, that's what the best businesses do. How do we compare? What do we do well? What do we not do so well? And just to let you know, I have got a little toolkit I'll give you at the end of this session where you can actually score yourselves to reflect on what you've heard. But this little model, we developed this in a previous life. We did we were in a TV series aimed at growing businesses on BBC One, sort of 14-odd years ago now, called Winning. Don't know if anybody saw Winning. On a very popular time of 10:30 on a Sunday morning. It was real peak viewing stuff, you know. In fact, we did some research to find out what people were doing on Sunday mornings. And most people wouldn't tell us. And those that did explain that they were on the golf course, playing football, taking the kids to football, in church, watching television. Those that were watching television were watching the Waltons on Channel 4. It was actually very, very successful. We go into a company that's got a problem with customer service. And rather than just point out all the things they were doing wrong, we'd show them to winning companies. Hence the series is called Winning. And we'd say, what can we learn from those winning companies? One of the things we also found, the opposite of winning in BBC language isn't losing. It's actually very, very difficult to get people to appear on BBC national television as losers. Unless you're Sheffield Wednesday, that is. And one of the things we learned very quickly, had to call them learners. I don't know if this is experience, I've actually found in life there are learners and there are non-learners. Anybody here ever worked with them and says, oh, you can't do that? That'll never work. In fact, very often we can spot the non-learners in terms of how they assess themselves, because very often there's two extremes as to how they do it. There's one extreme, what I call naive optimism. We're brilliant at that, we've been doing that for years, that's obvious, okay, Andy, what's next? Now, the other extreme is what I call deep cynicism. Well, you don't understand our business. It's different in our industry. Well, the one infamous words I heard, that'll never work in Rotherham. and actually, we weren't a million miles. I was once doing a session up in the northeast, and I was stood doing my stuff. As I was going, all I could hear was this. And I looked, it was quite elderly gentleman. I said, everything all right? He said, look, Sonny. And you know, when you hear those words, you're in trouble. I think it's great what you're saying. It's very enthusiastic. But can I tell you, we tried all this in 1957, and it doesn't work. And it's a very cynical approach. We describe a cynic as somebody who's given up but hasn't shut up. And things come up hundreds of reasons why I think, now, I'm sure we haven't got any in the room today because by definition you're here hopefully to learn. What I'm asking you to do is be realistic and say, yeah, we do that well. That's how we get better at, which is step 3, which is action. What are we going to do? And again, let me just stress, this is not going to change your life, okay? This is not do those 10 things and all be multimillionaires overnight. Some of these things might seem obvious. Some of these things might be things you used to do. But work out what is it you're going to do as a result of to go away and just make this stuff happen. That sound okay? What I'd like to do, however, is just get you maybe to have a quick discussion with some people around you. And I want to get your thoughts. What exactly is marketing? Now, again, I'm always very conscious when I come to these events. Some people just sit and stare dead ahead, not daring to talk to the person to the right of them, to the left of them. And for all you know, here in this room could be a potential supplier, a customer, somebody that can share information and ideas. Therefore, I would like you to talk to somebody you don't know. And if you just keep talking to your mates, we know who you are, okay? So just for a couple of minutes, have a quick chat. What exactly is marketing? Off you go. Okay, if I could just stop you there, please. I'm just very conscious. I don't let this conversation thing go on too long. I was actually running a seminar in Nottingham about 4 years ago, and we got about 100 odd entrepreneurs together for a breakfast meeting. I got them networking, talking to each other. I got a letter from a couple who'd met on one of my seminars and were now getting married. Their original partners weren't too happy about it, so we don't let it go on too long. So any thoughts? Anybody, again, just sort of shout out any thoughts. What exactly is marketing? Any thoughts, views? Getting people to buy from you, yeah?
Encourage a behaviour.
Getting your message across to other people?
Encourage a behaviour.
Encouraging behaviour that we want, yeah? Standing out from the others?
Gathering information about your customers.
Okay, gathering information about your customers, fantastic. You know, I'd argue all those parts are integral to this. In fact, I was running a seminar recently in the Northwest, and we got talking about this, and I was working with this engineering business. And this guy said, Andy, what's the difference between sales and marketing? And I was going to start trying to explain that I think they're very integrally mixed. He goes, and this person says, I'll tell you the difference. The marketing people hold the customers down and the sales people hit them. Which is maybe not the most constructive way of looking at this. And because I was coming to such an esteemed audience, I actually got my old MBA notes out to have a look at what marketing is. And apparently it's that. And I thought, I've absolutely no idea what that really means. Marketing is a social managerial process by which individuals and groups obtain what they need and want through creating and exchanging products and value with others. I'm reading my definition. This is my definition. This isn't the definition. Finding, attracting, keeping the customers that you want while maximising your profits. It's everything that you do to find customers, get them to come to you, get them to come back, and make money doing it. And if you're in a non-profit making organisation, and by that I mean deliberately non-profit making, it could be about maximising financial returns. Okay? Does that make sense? People sort of see that? And the reason I'm just highlighting that is that I want to try and get across at the beginning. Marketing is not something that somebody else does. I'd argue there can't be anybody in your business that doesn't have some impact somewhere on there. You know, one of the scary things is, for example, for a lot of us, our accounts department is the last contact customers have with us. They have a massive impact on whether they come back for more. So this is not just the sales and marketing. I know it's quite revolutionary stuff. Okay. So when we start sort of looking at this, when it sort of comes to customers, again, just for a couple of minutes back in your teams, or it could be a different team this time if you're feeling really sort of ambitious and adventurous, talk to somebody else. What are some of the key challenges that we're up against when it comes to making this stuff work? Now, what I'm not looking for here is a list of customers that winds you up, okay? And just maybe some of the generic issues, challenges that you and your business faces when it comes to making that stuff work, okay? So again, have a quick chat with somebody you don't know or people around you, see what they think. Okay, so what do we think? Again, if I could just maybe just get a bit of feedback. What are some of the challenges that we face as businesses of finding, attracting and keeping customers in today's sort of marketplaces? Any thoughts, views? Competition. Increasing competition and more of it, and in lots of cases coming from much further afar, further wide than maybe in the past. Budget. People got less money. People maybe want more for less. You know, budgets are tighter. People being desensitized to the same old stuff, so they almost switch off to the maybe traditional ways of doing things. Yeah. Time. People haven't got the time. You know, have I got the time to actually find out a bit about you? I'm quite happy with what I've got, thank you. I'll just stick with what I've got. I also find that time means maybe I'm not going to hang around too long to wait. If you can't sort it out straight away, I'm off. We've sort of researched, and we could argue there's no sort of rocket science stuff here, but we've identified a number of trends. And just see what you sort of recommend, see if you see any of these in your business. We need abundance. What I mean by that is we have massive choice. In most market sectors today, there is massive choice. For example, I just looked at it in Google yesterday. You know, I'm not saying there are 12 million suppliers. I'm saying there's lots of information for me to touch very quickly. So one of the challenges is how do we stand out from the crowd? And it's quite interesting how some businesses go about doing this. I was quite lucky 5 years ago, and I was on holiday in France. And we were in Saint-Emilion. Anybody ever been to Saint-Emilion? People heard of Saint-Emilion? It's a village in the middle of nowhere, world famous for its wine. And basically, it's 653 wine shops and a monastery. Okay, now we turned up and we said, well, I want to buy some wine, but I don't know much about wine. So which shop to go in? Because every street, there's hundreds and hundreds of shops. And we were completely swamped by the choice until we saw this sign. So we went in. I suspect if you put that on your website, it's hardly going to be a thing that's going to differentiate you. We're going to find other ways. One of the things I also see, this thing about competition is, that's a great phrase, the Joneses no longer live next door. What I mean by that is we're no longer just competing with people around the corner from us. And therefore, what we're actually seeing is that, you know, it's coming from all over the place. There's lots of noise. Anybody can set up a marketing campaign, whether it's through email, through spamming stuff, it's lots of stuff out there. Somebody described to me, it's a bit like being in the stadium with the vuvuzelas. There's lots of people blowing. You can't actually tell where it's actually coming from. As a result of it, customers are putting up more barriers. How many people here are ex-directory? How many people here are in the mail preference system so you don't get junk mail? How many people have got spam filter on their email system? How many people here have got Sky Plus? You don't have to watch the adverts anymore. You know? I got a great tip from my mum. Because what you do is you tape Downton Abbey on a Sunday, but you don't start watching until 9:10. You can skip through the adverts and you're still in time for the 10 o'clock news. It's fantastic. You know? And what I'm sort of saying here is it's getting more difficult to get in front of people. Permission marketing. Stuff is easy to find. Again, in days gone by, I'd go through directories. Big stuff, I'd go to the library. Whereas now, I touch a button. We're also seeing that there's greater transparency. I can find out a lot more about you and your competitors at a touch of a button. And it's in lots of different businesses. Anybody here use TripAdvisor? Because I'm yet to go on the website of a hotel that says we offer a fantastic customer experience apart from Tuesdays and Thursdays when Kevin, the manager, isn't in. You know, we're bound to put great stuff in our promotional material, on our websites, in our brochures. It's what other people are saying. Anybody here use petrolprices.com? Type in your postcode, tells you the price of petrol, that square miles of where you live, and updates you. That's not for everybody. My father-in-law loves that. He drives miles, you know. People are now experts. Anybody here get a customer that comes, oh, well, I've seen it on the internet. I've heard that. They come with maybe higher expectations. And again, sort of going back to my mum, she had went to see a specialist for her shoulder a few months ago, before Christmas. Went on the Monday to see the specialist. And Mum, she's 80. On Tuesday, she meets 7 other friends in British home stores in Scunthorpe for a cup of coffee. And they all catch up with what they've been doing. And my mum, on Tuesday morning, tells her friends what the specialist has said. My mum is sat in front of 7 experts that tell her what's really wrong with her shoulder. But even worse than that, one of them had an iPad. And what I'm sort of saying here is that there's an argument that, yeah, people can find a lot more, but it also potentially raises expectations. But it also means that expectations are getting higher. And the research suggests that we don't think things are as good as they used to be. I'd argue one of the key things maybe is expectations have got higher and higher and higher. What's also quite interesting is that it's easy to switch. People will move away. And it's also worth pointing out, however, that when we start looking at this thing about exceeding expectations, we're going to talk about how do we actually exceed customers' expectations. I'm going to talk about customer delight. Now, some people, when they hear the word customer delight, start sort of going, he's been to Disneyland for his holidays. It's one of those sessions. This is not have a nice day. This is not the McDonaldization of your industry. And let me just stress, I'm not knocking McDonald's. Some would argue a very successful business. Although I heard recently, I think it's great, and I hope it's true, at their head office training center in Chicago, Illinois, the University of Hamburgerology. Apparently they're experimenting there. Rather than actually say, have a nice day, they're actually saying, missing you already. If you don't throw up on your Big Mac, there's a fair chance you'll throw up on hearing that. I want to stress I'm not knocking McDonald's. In fact, some would argue a very successful business. Many years ago, I was very lucky. I used to live and work in San Diego, California. Anybody here ever been to San Diego? Beautiful place, isn't it? I used to run a little building company for a mate of mine. And every morning at 7 o'clock, I used to walk down Pacific Beach to my building site. And for those that haven't been, in San Diego, California, at 7 o'clock in the morning, the sun is always shining. The sky is always blue. There are beautiful white frothy waves crashing onto the golden sands. A bit like being at Skegness, you know? And overlooking Pacific Beach was a McDonald's. And I used to walk in there every morning at 5 to 7 to be greeted by the cast from Baywatch. These stunning Californian blondes going, "Hi Andy, how are you this morning?" And I'd get my sausage egg McMuffin and my decaffeinated coffee, and they'd say, "You have a great day now." And it set me up for the day. Fantastic. When I go to McDonald's in Worksop, and this kid goes, "Enjoy your meal, pal," and shoves this thing at me, you learn very quickly. What works in California ain't going to work here. What works at McDonald's ain't going to work in your business. You've got to work out what does customer delight look like. But it's also worth pointing out that actually sometimes it's difficult to delight all customers. It's about exceeding expectations. Here are some genuine quotes from people who've been on Thompson holidays. They filled in their satisfaction form after. Try and delight these customers. So one of the things that we're going to talk about here is that you can't delight all customers. Customers want engagement. This is no proof of anything. 5 million people commented watching the X Factor final. I know that's not proven. I'm not suggesting the X Factor is a magic answer. And I know that not everybody likes the X Factor. What I'm actually saying here is that we actually want to be communicating in lots of different ways. And the key challenge again is, do we engage with our customers in the way that works for them? That's key here. Some people want to be on Facebook doing social media. Some people still want face-to-face. Some people want a phone call. Some people want... But it's actually making sure that we're actually covering all the bases. It's also about making sure that we use the information we've got about our customers to personalise the experience. This is a great way of actually creating customer delight. What we're actually saying here is that customers want you to use the information to actually make them feel valued. One of the big trends everybody's talking about. Anybody here heard of the trend called big data? Big data is this whole thing. You know, if you like something on Facebook, you ever noticed how sometimes you suddenly start getting adverts about those sort of things? Because they're collecting all these masses of information. It can be quite scary stuff. And a great story from in the US. How many people here have got a Tesco loyalty card? Anybody here got a Tesco loyalty card? Because let me just stress, the Tesco loyalty card is not about loyalty. The Tesco loyalty card is all about finding out what you buy, when you buy it, how do you buy it. The husband and wife team who actually set that up, they've sold it to Tesco's, they reckoned by spotting people's buying patterns, they could tell whether a couple was going to split over a period of time by watching the trends. And there's a story, Target, which is a supermarket in the US, and they sent some vouchers out to their customers. This one particular guy, Cleveland, Ohio, gets the vouchers, some for him, some for his wife, some for his daughter, 17-year-old daughter. And the ones for his 17-year-old daughter were for diapers, for pregnancy, for sterilisation stuff. And he went into the store and complained, how dare you send this? And the store manager said, I'm really, really sorry, sir, they've come from head office. 2 days later, his 17-year-old daughter told him she was pregnant. And they'd spotted that by her buying patterns. Now, this can be quite scary stuff. But what I'm trying to sort of say here is, do you use information in a constructive way? Then what we're also seeing is this thing about time. Again, when I was young, I remember coming home one day from school, getting ready to watch Blue Peter. Those that remember Blue Peter. I walked in, 5 to 5, and there she was again. My mum watching television. Mums never watch television at 5 to 5, at kids' hour. That was for kids. Couldn't understand what on earth was going on. The budget was on. We had to forfeit proper television. I missed Wacky Racers and Scooby-Doo because of this lot. Whereas today, I can watch it again whenever I want. I can be staying in my hotel, I can get the times on my iPad. I don't have to buy the whole album by the tunes that I want. I can watch TV, films when I want, how I want. I can go on tune-in radio and listen to Radio Sheffield wherever I am, anywhere in the world. I can go on online training courses from Udemy. I don't have to come to events like this. What I'm saying here is the customers want it now, they want it quick. And what we're actually seeing is that maybe people are prepared to queue a lot less than they used to do. Anybody here just switched off a website because you couldn't get to it? It's quite interesting. A 1-second delay in load time would cost Amazon an estimated $1.6 billion a year. This is quite powerful stuff. So one of the things you might want to think a bit about is how easy are you to buy from and deal with? Trust in institutions is declining. We're questioning and challenging a lot more. We no longer believe the hype. We don't trust our politicians, the legislators, the powers that be. 3/4 of us don't believe that companies tell the truth in advertisements. Again, when I was a kid, we honestly believed that for MASH, you had to get smash. That's what we did, unquestioning. What we're also seeing is that word of mouth and word of mouse is increasing. How many people here get a lot of their work from word of mouth, from recommendations? That's what this is about. And, it's a very, very powerful way of getting business. However, it's worth pointing out, people only talk about stuff that's worth talking about. They talk about brilliant stuff, they talk about terrible stuff. They don't talk about average stuff. And again, they do it online as well, and offline. Here's an example from offline to offline. This was a guy who spent £65,000 on a Range Rover, tried to get to Lookers in Chelmsford Essex, couldn't get it serviced. Parked up outside their dealership. If you want trouble-free motoring, do not buy one of these. Picked up by the local press, the national press, the internet. Anybody heard of this? Dave Carroll, Canadian singer, United Brakes Guitars. He was flying on United Airlines. He's in a band. He wants to take his guitar on the plane. They wouldn't let him. He was very nervous. He had to put it in the hold. He reluctantly put it in the hold. He sat on the plane. He sees a little luggage train go past, loading the plane up. He sees his guitar fall off. He sees another one run over it. He sees a member of staff go. He complained to the stewardess. She didn't have to deal with us. They're subcontractors. He sat in his seat, and I think arrived at where they were going, got off, went to the front, went to the luggage bay. There, sure enough, his guitar was damaged. He went to the front desk, complained, had nothing to do with us, subcontractors. He rang up head office. He got to the customer services director of United Airlines, and they refused anything about it. It was going to cost $385 to sort it out. They refused. He did a song, put it on YouTube, and the first month got over 11.5 million hits. At one bit, if you typed in United Airlines into Google, you got his website. He knocked over $80 million off the share price. Now, I'm not suggesting customers are going to suddenly start singing songs about you and your business. What I'm actually saying here is that news, good or bad, spreads very, very quickly. Our challenge is to create something that actually is good, people talk about. And that is your dramatic difference. So what it actually means is we've all got to stand out and build trust with our customers. And again, it's quite interesting how some businesses are going about doing this. Some are being very upfront about their products and services. But seriously, it's about doing something to make your business stand out, so that gets people talking, either online or offline. And what I'm going to do is share with you 3 ideas, and they are just ideas. Your challenge is to work out what these mean for you. And idea 1 is what we call choose them or lose them. This is about having a clear focus on the sort of customers you want to work with. Who are your best customers? What does best mean for your business? And best will mean different things to business. But what I'm trying to sort of say here is, do you have a clear focus on the sort of customers you want to work with? What we actually see in many businesses is a very scattergun approach. They go all over the place. I think a great thing to do is just sit down, have a chat with your team, your people around you. Who are our best customers? What does best mean for us? It will mean different things for different businesses. I worked with one team where the sales guy said, these are our best customers, Andy. And the FD said, why do you say the best? Oh, they spend loads with us. Yeah, but they never pay us. You know, so this is not just about how much you can sell. It's about, is it profitable? Do they pay you on time? Do they pay you? The research suggests that half of us can't tell our profitable products and services. So do you actually know what is profitable for you and your business? And it's about identifying who the best ones are. Think value for time. How much time and effort does it cost to look after these clients and these customers? It's not just how much they spend, but what is the time you're actually taking to look after them, to keep them happy? And I think one of the things for me is maybe just taking a bit of time out to evaluate how much time and resource you take. I'd also suggest that one of the things you might want to do is get rid of the customers you don't want. Now, please, I'm not suggesting you get back tomorrow morning and start hurling abuse at customers you don't like. What I'm starting to say here is, as a minimum, stop focusing on those customers. Stop putting your efforts into them. And if you can reduce your reliance on them, try and do that. So do you have a clear focus on who the best customers are? Choose them or lose them. What I'd like to do is just get a bit of a feel for why I should buy from you. And I know this morning some of you in Robert's session, you maybe sort of got that exercise. I'd like to stand up and talk to somebody you don't know. I'm not asking you to do a huge sales pitch. I'm asking you just a couple of minutes. Just what words and phrases would you use to describe why customers should or would or do buy from you? Okay? So stand up, talk to somebody you don't know, a couple of minutes, then see what they've got to say. Just no more than a minute. I'm not asking for a huge sales pitch. I'm asking for words and phrases that actually sort of makes your business stand out. Off you go. Okay, if I could just stop you there, please. This time, if I could actually, if everybody could just stand up, please. Everybody could just stand up. I'm not going to ask you to hug each other, don't worry. Please stand up. And what I want you to do is think about what you heard the other person saying. I'm not saying they would have said it word for word. But if they said anything like the words and phrases I'm going to say, I'd like to sit down, please. If they thought, well, people buy from us because of our expertise and our experience, we're doing this for some time, I'd like to sit down. If they talked about, well, it's our people, we're a great team, we've got experienced people that know what they're doing. If you talked about, well, it's our range of products, we offer a great range of products for our customers. If they talked about, well, it's the location, we're easy to get to, we're local, we're very close to our customers, our reputation, we've built a big reputation in the marketplace, we've been doing this for some time. It's the quality of what we do, we offer a quality product, a quality service. It's our pricing, we offer great value. You did talk to each other, didn't you? You did talk about these things. It's the personal service we offer. It's our customer care. It's our flexibility to the customer need. I got you all. Let me just... Oh, we've got one here. Creative, like it. We're creative. I'm not saying any of the things you've said are wrong. Okay, I want to stress that. I'm not saying anything. However, one of the things for me when we start talking about these things, people often talk about USPs. People familiar with the term USP? What does USP stand for? It doesn't. It stands for the usual stuff people say. Let me stress again, I'm not saying you are wrong. If, however, your competitors are saying the same things, how do we differentiate ourselves? And if I can't tell one from the other, then which one am I going to go with? If I think two things or three things look very, very similar, what do I tend to do? I got the cheapest, or I stick to what I know. Why would I switch? And therefore, this whole idea too, what we call think in 3D, is about being dramatically and demonstrably different. And the way we look at this is a very simple little grid. -1D is you worse than your competitors in the areas that customers say are important. As good as or as bad as, management consultants, well as bad as each other, is 0. As a minimum, we've got to be better than. What tends to happen, however, if you start doing things that start to work in the marketplace that customers like, and people copy it. You know, this moves this way all the time. Anybody remember, or some of the young people remember, probably won't remember this, can you remember when banks used to close at 3 o'clock? And then it was 6 o'clock headline news that Barclays announced they were going to stay open till 5:30. That was headline news. They're going to start working the same hours as the rest of us. Do you know what happened within 6-7 working days? All the others said the same. In other words, this is moving this way. Our challenge is to do things that are dramatically different, or even better, demonstrably and dramatically different. Things that our competitors aren't or can't do. And it's a real mix of stuff. It could be tiny little things. I'm just going to give you some examples, and I want you to sort of think a bit about your business. A great example, I would argue, is a completely different business model, was Amazon changed the way we did things. Most of us can't be Amazon. We'll look at other ways of doing it. So the key thing here is to establish a dramatic difference. What is your dramatic difference? It might be some of the things that you've said when you were talking to others, but it's how do you actually make sure that that's integral to what you do. Anybody here a customer of First Direct Bank? Do you rate First Direct? 24 hours a day telephone banking. That in itself is pretty revolutionary. But some of the little things that they do, Jill, my other half, customer of First Direct, she rang them up one day, some years ago. She was organising talk to a particular individual. The lady she rang wasn't there. So I'm really, really sorry, Mrs. White. She's not here this morning. She's back in this afternoon. Can we give you a call then? Jill said, yeah, that'd be great. I said, what time would you like us to call? Jill said, well, our meeting's 4:30, 5:30. Anytime 5:30, 5:05. If we called you at 5:45, would that be all right? She said, that'd be great. Like us when you're at home, on your mobile, in the office. Jill said, I'm in the office. The lady read the number out. I'm really sorry she wasn't here, Mrs. White. The day went on. At 5:45, on the button, the telephone rang. That's a tiny little thing that is dramatically and demonstrably. I'd argue their model itself was very different. When it first came out, late 90s, I was talking to someone who worked for First Direct. I said, you're telling me you are open 365 days a year? 24 hours a day? She said, yeah. I said, what, like Christmas Day? She said, yeah. I said, and what happens on Christmas Day? I said, do people ring up? She goes, yeah. So what happens? We have a skeleton staff. We say, Happy Christmas, First Direct. How can I help? I said, what do people want on Christmas Day? She goes, we don't know. Or we normally hear them going, there is somebody there, you know, and the phone goes down. And sometimes your dramatic difference doesn't mean it's there all the time, but it's there to reassure people. And it's only any good if customers want it, can recognise it, and willing to pay, I'd argue best, willing to pay more for it. And start thinking about some things you've said. Do you demonstrate? Here's some examples, and they are just examples, completely away from your industry sector. Just get to think about it. One of the ways of doing it, I think, is to focus on a particular group of customers. Target customers. For example, anybody seen this in the California dog TV? It's a subscription service where a TV channel just for dogs, so you can leave your TV channel on. And now, that's not for everybody, I recognise, but it's got over 1 million subscribers, paying over £10 a month. You know? That's a niche. You can't really see him. This is my mate, Ollie. He's a son of a friend of mine, Lewis. I went to Alderley Edge to see him, and we said, right, where are we going to eat? I hadn't seen Lewis for some time. Ollie says, we're going to go to Gusto. Because at Gusto, kids can make their own pizzas. And it's chaos. There's kids running around. If you've got family and kids, it's great. If you haven't, you wouldn't go anywhere near the place. But it's chosen a particular customer group. The iPlace in Malta is a restaurant on a harbour in Maslock where they've got 37 fish restaurants. They don't sell fish. They only sell meat. And very simple little things that they do. For example, all your menus are on our iPads. When you order a meal, they give you a wine recommendation. There's an app that tells you. Kids, again, can play on it. Again, if you're a fish lover, you wouldn't go to any other place. Another way of doing this is to break the rules. What are the things that happen in your industry that you could completely just shatter those industry norms? This is an estate agency just outside Glastonbury. They actually describe the properties as they really are. Now, again, that's not for everybody. My mum used to work in an estate agency. She thinks that's disgusting. It's targeting a particular group of customers who think that's fantastic. Metro Bank, another bank, completely different to you guys. But again, High Street Bank, open 8 o'clock in the morning till 6 at night. First UK High Street Bank since 1753. 27 branches now, growing very, very quickly. Open 8 till morning, 8 in the morning, 6 in the evening. Open Sundays. Kids' play areas to take your kids in if you've got things to do. You can even take your dog in. There's a little area for dogs and there's dog treats. Again, I'm not saying that's for everybody. Certain customers are growing very, very quickly. The worst hotel in the world. The Hans Brinker Budget Hotel deliberately lowers its customers' expectations so it can exceed them by just being half decent. First Direct again. The idea of First Direct, I was talking at a conference about First Direct, and this lady said to me, I've got a great story about First Direct, Andy. She said, I was down in London, I was at a conference, and I got to, off King's Cross, got onto the train. And, got off the train, into the taxi, suddenly realised that I'd lost my purse, or it had been stolen. When running back to the train, it wasn't there. Luckily, I got enough money in my pocket to actually get to where I was going, to the hotel. My company had booked me in there for 3 days, so I was all right. I'd start ringing around the banks, cancelling the cards. And she says they were all right, name, number. I rang First Direct, and this lady said, are you all right? What's been happening? She told her the whole story. She sorted it all out, took the details, took the numbers, and then said, what are you doing for money tomorrow? She's not even thought about that. She said, well, I've had a look on the map. About 250 yards down the road from you, there's an HSBC bank. If you tell me what you're wearing tomorrow, I'll give them a ring and have £250 waiting for you. I don't believe in the First Direct staff handbook. It says in the event of a customer being stuck in a hotel on Hyde Park Cut, this is what you do. They actually create the culture that actually allows people to do this stuff. That is their dramatic difference. Another way of doing this is what I call planned spontaneity. This is the whole idea of customer delight. Again, a couple of examples. Anybody here familiar with Aveda products? Aveda, it's a global cosmetics brand. It's quite high-end stuff. You can buy it at top salons, top department stores. Has to be Jill, my other half's favourite. It costs a fortune for little tubs of stuff that I don't really know what they do, but then I wouldn't. And about 4 years ago, we were in London on a Tommy Tourist weekend. We were wandering around London, wandering down Marylebone High Street about lunchtime. As we wandered down Marylebone High Street, we happened to bump into, purely coincidentally, the Aveda UK flagship store. Completely coincidentally, as a one-off, you know. I was mugged. She said, now we're here, we might as well go in and spend lots of money. She didn't say that bit, but I do a bit of body language stuff and I could see what was going on. We went in, a little cafe at the back, store was done out beautifully. We had a wholemeal nutmeg soup and a couple of sort of salads, and we saved a couple of trees, we ate our stuff, it was all very environmentally friendly. Jill said, right, you pay the bill, I'm off to have a look round. And off she went. And I put my hand up, and this young waitress came to me, brought me my bill. I paid the bill, she came back, brought me my change. And with my change, she gave me free hand relief, which was a little sample of one of their products. It made me smile. I walked back into the store and said, Jill, I've just had free hand relief in the restaurant. Sales in the restaurant were about 25-30% that particular afternoon. It's the company you go to. I went to see a client of mine in Leicester. I hadn't been seen for 6 months. Been doing some customer care training. I walked in, Andy, the office junior, said, "Hi, Andy, how are you doing?" I said, "Great, thanks." She goes, "Had a good trip from Sheffield?" I said, "Yeah, I thought it was quite impressive. She made us from Sheffield." She says, "John will be with you in about 10 minutes. Can you hang on?" I said, "Yeah, no problem at all." She goes, "Do you want a cup of coffee while you're waiting?" I said, "Yeah, but great." She goes, "It's black, no sugar, isn't it?" I said, "How do you know that?" She goes, "It's my job to know." And this was a 17-year-old who had taken responsibility for keeping details about her customers. Stayed in a hotel in North Yorkshire for a wedding. And amongst the toiletries were some Alka-Seltzers. There was a handwritten personalised note saying, "Dear Andy and Jill, welcome to the Sherburn House Hotel. Hope you have a fantastic stay this weekend. We thought you think you have a great night. You might need these in the morning. Best wishes, Dave, the manager." Now, it's not just the fact that they were there, it's the personalised note. And I've no idea whether Dave, the manager, actually wrote that, but it comes across as being his personal approach. Great story of a guy called Sean Fowkes, I think his name was. He was a US military in Afghanistan. It was his wife's birthday and his anniversary, and he wanted to get a pizza delivered from their local pizza place. He went on their website, he couldn't find any details, sent them an email, heard nothing. On the day of his wife's birthday, she rang him up. And they'd actually sent him from the mellow mushroom, but they'd actually just done it off the cuff, they'd actually done it and sent him some pizzas. I'm not suggesting you have to suddenly start sending pizzas to your customers. You've got to find ways that make them go, wow. Anybody seen this? Go on Heinz Facebook page, you can actually personalise, you know, someone's not feeling very well, £1.95, put the name in, they'll send them a tin of soup with their name personalised. How many people here have got standard letters? According to our records, you're 30 days overdue, 60 days overdue, 90 days overdue. How about letters? According to our records, you paid us on time. Could we just say thank you very much, really appreciate it? This is a guy, Wilhelm Helm, he was called, flying out of the Schiphol Airport, Amsterdam. And he tweeted something on the lines of, "Really fed up, going to miss Feyenoord against Man United. We're going to New York. They don't show proper football in America." When he checked in at the front desk, the member of staff had got a Lonely Planet guide to New York and had highlighted the bars that show European football. Now, he was a first-class customer, paying a lot of money, but again, that's what this stuff's about. They have a team looks for things like that. I stayed in a hotel in the northwest of the country. Next to the bed was a little sign that said, a little card that says, "Your room has been cleaned by Mary." It said, "Please look under the bed." I looked under the bed, it said, "I've cleaned under here too." And that's what this stuff is about. It's about little things that demonstrate your dramatic difference. So what is yours? How do you demonstrate it? And a key element for me, the last idea, it's about people. Do we get our people involved in this stuff? At Apple, for example, they have a little system they use to how they actually guide their people to create that dramatic difference. It's also worth pointing out at Apple, every single member of staff was rewarded for customer satisfaction levels, not for soft sales and profitability. I've also discovered, actually, Ryanair do something similar. And people actually say, "Andy, how do you explain Ryanair's success?" Let me tell you what Ryanair do. Ryanair lower your expectations so much, if they deliver you where they said they were going to, or within 50 miles of it, within a time frame that they've already added half an hour onto, you are delighted. I'm not allowed to tell you any more about Ryanair. If I do, I've got to charge you a tenner per head extra to do that. Okay. What they could do is do it a bit like Southwest Airlines, who are a US cheap and cheerful airline, and they believe that their people are the dramatic difference, because the planes are the same. So they create great experiences. And what they actually do is they encourage their staff to say things however they want. There are certain legal things they have to say, but they're encouraged to do it in their own style. For example, here are some of the things that their staff announcers have been heard to say. Maybe 50 ways to leave your lover, but there are only 4 ways out of this plane. Your bags will be available on Carousel X. If you do not find them, they're available in 2 to 3 weeks on eBay. In order to enhance the appearance of your flight crew, we'll be dimming the cabin lights. And again, if you go on YouTube when you can, it's research, so you're allowed, get my permission, check this guy out. He's rapping the instructions. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that your dramatic difference has to be your sales guys going out there rapping to customers, but it's about finding ways of getting their personality across. At Ritz-Carlton hotels, every single member of staff is allowed to spend up to $2,000 to solve a customer's problem. That's getting everybody involved. And a great story of a guy called Chris Helm, who was staying at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Florida Keys. Comes home with his family, and his 5-year-old son announces that he's left his best mate, Joshy the giraffe, at home. Anybody here got a 5-year-old? Because you know now the world has come to an end. He's not going to bed, and he won't have his tea, and he's certainly not going to school tomorrow. What Chris managed to do was get his son into bed by telling him a bit of a white lie that Joshy's having a couple of extra days holiday. That got him to bed. Oh, what can I do about this? The phone rings. Hi, it's Ritz-Carlton Hotel here. You haven't lost a giraffe, have you? We've found it in the laundry. We've been ringing around people. He goes, you have? Oh, fantastic. That's brilliant. We'll put it in the post to you. I don't know if you could help me. He says, I've told my son a bit of a white lie. Told him the story. Could you just send us a photograph of Joshy, please, just so that he knows he's on holidays? No problem. 2 days later, this box arrives with Joshy in it and a Ritz-Carlton goodie bag with towels and beach towels, lots of wonderful things. And in it was a beautifully bound photo album. And in the photo album was Joshy sunbathing. Was Joshy having a massage? Was Joshy going down to the beach? Was Joshy chilling with his mates? And that's the point of this stuff. It's encouraging people to go the extra mile for customers, to get them involved in the dramatic difference. So a key bit for me also is, do we encourage and support those that do it? Because I actually find in lots of companies, the reward for putting the extra effort in and going the extra mile for customers, you know what the reward is? The reward is you get to do more work. Anybody here you want something to do properly, you give it to them. Champion your champions, encourage and support them to do it, and maybe even challenge the challengers. Challenge those that aren't. Or what you could even do is get your customers to do it, to see whether it is being dramatically demonstrated. American Airlines give their customers vouchers to give to their customers that they can actually give to staff who've created a great experience. So they've got their customers to spot who is demonstrating their dramatic difference, and they can get them, they can do prizes with them. And I was in a men's retailer's up our neck of the woods in Sheffield, and they got these posters up saying, please nominate our customer champions of the month. And I was served by this young lad called Brett, who was 17. He was fantastic. He said, I'm nominating you. I went, oh, don't. I said, why not? He goes, I've already had 7 nominations this month. I said, that's great, you'll win. He goes, I don't want to win. I says, why not? He says, the prize you get to go to dinner with the managing director. If you are going to reward people, make sure you reward them in a way that actually works for them. So, to try and sort of conclude on this, of course, advertising can work, but it's not just about advertising. It's about doing things that differentiate your business. Advertising is the tax you pay for being unremarkable. Don't be afraid not to follow the herd, because if the herd's gone, the food is already eaten. Consider doing stuff that your competitors aren't or can't do. And again, one of the things about understanding and knowing your customers, I was speaking at a conference up in the northeast, Newcastle, with young graduate entrepreneurs, and I was doing my seminar, and I got going, and this young guy put his hand up and said, excuse me, sir, what business does Bob Dylan run? I went, no, Bob Dylan, the singer. And there was a few of them had never heard of Bob Dylan. I've realised I've become an old git. So it's about knowing your customers. I'd also suggest you can't demonstrate your dramatic difference, you're invisible. You know, you're just amongst all the others. So, idea 1, choose them or lose them. Focus on the customers that you want to work with. Who are your best customers? Idea 2 is think in 3D. Work out what is your dramatic and demonstrable difference. And idea 3 is actually get everybody involved in doing this. And because it is about exceeding expectations and going the extra mile, I've got an extra one for you. A bonus idea, and this is the crucial one. Do stuff. As a result of this conference, what is it you're going to go away and do? Whether it's stuff you heard from me, one of the guys, and the people that are talking today, it's about going away and having a go and trying things, doing things. Anybody interested, if you go on my very imaginatively titled website, andyhanselman.com, there are a few little papers I've done. I've also got a toolkit here. I'll let everybody have a copy of it. You actually assess yourself against some of the things we've talked about. The questions are deliberately geared to amplify the pains. Don't worry if you score low in them, but they're there to help you maybe work out how this stuff works for you. And again, anybody interested, there's a little thing you can fill in, let me have it. I do a very short 3-minute audio every Monday morning with ideas and just prompts, thoughts, views. You don't have to subscribe to it, you can if you want. And again, you just get a link to the website and you can watch it on there. Please, I'm going to hang around. If you've got any questions, please ask any now. I will hang around for questions as well. I'm not going to dash off. I'll also put the slides on my website. You can download them so you can have all the slides if anybody wants them. Vision without action is hallucination. You know, it's about doing stuff. It's also about just taking that first step, trying one little thing. I think it's also worth pointing out that Martin Luther King didn't actually stand up and say, I've got a strategic business plan and a cash flow forecast. He had a dream, painted a picture of what he wanted and got people to buy into that. It might also be about doing things you've never done before. Try things that you and or your industry doesn't do. But it is about doing something. Because when we do these things, we often find people can be divided into three groups. There are those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, those that ask what happened, is it all just goes flying past? Which one are you? What are you going to do to have a go at this stuff? So I'm going to hang around. If you've got any questions, please feel free to ask them now. There's a little toolkit I'll let you have. And I'll say thanks very much for your time. And missing you already. Thank you very much indeed.